This next section, we will start by reviewing the handicap formula. The handicap index calculation. There are 5 significant changes to the handicap index calculation process, now starting with the World Handicap System in 2020. The minimum number of scores required is 3. We've reviewed that. 54 holes, 3 18-hole rounds, or 6 9-hole rounds. The number of differentials used, 8 of 20. Under the current system, under the previous system, it was 10 of 20. The playing conditions calculation, which we will go through. Exceptional score reduction that considers all scores. We'll review that shortly. And then we will finish off this section with talking about the soft cap and the hard cap, which limits upward movement of the index. The number of differentials to be used. This chart breaks it down from 3 18-hole scores, which is the minimum, all the way to 20. You will see when you get to 20, it is 8 of 20, where it used to be 10 of 20. The calculation of a score differential. For an 18-hole score, a score differential is calculated as follows. The adjusted gross score minus the course rating, minus the playing conditions calculation, times 113 divided by the slope rating. Again, we will talk about playing conditions calculations a little more in a few minutes. The result of that formula is a differential for each score, and that is a key number because a lower score may not always produce a lower score differential. Here, a player shoots 95 on a course rating with a course that has a rating of 71.5. There is no playing condition calculation. Numbers multiplied by 113 divided by the slope rating of the golf course, it produces a differential of 21.2. This is a 97 shot on a course that has a higher course rating and slope rating. The differential is an 18.7. We have a 90 that was scored on a course with a 66.1 course rating and a slope rating of 105, which gives us a differential of 25.7. Of these 3, the best score from a handicap calculation standpoint is the 97. So while most of the time the lower score will be the one that is used as part of the calculation process, it is not always the case. That is why the differential number is important, and it is the low 8 of 20 differentials that is used to calculate the index. For 20 scores, you average the lowest 8 of the most recent 20 differentials. You round to the nearest 10th. Here's a chart. On the left, it was the 2019 calculation process. You see under the USGA system last year, this golfer had an index of 12.9. With conversion to the new World Handicap system, the 2 higher of the 10 lowest differentials are eliminated, the red lines on the right chart. And this individual's new index is 13.3. So even though they might not have played golf between the time the 2019 season ended and the 2020 season starts, their index actually went up 0.4 of a point because the calculation process has changed. So it'll be quite likely early in the year as golfers start coming back out, they will notice this. And again, the reason is a new formula with 8 of 20 differentials, no longer using 10. And also what used to be called the bonus for excellence, where the number was multiplied by 0.96 has been eliminated. So going into this year, it is simply the low 8 of 20 averaged and rounded. And there's the example of how we got the 13.3. Playing conditions calculation. When abnormal playing conditions cause scores to be unusually high or low on a given day, a playing conditions calculation will adjust score differentials to better reflect the player's actual performance. The PCC will be simple and conservative in nature and will be adjusted in integer values. Here you see the only 4 adjustments that will take place: a -1, a +1, a +2, and a +3. There's no decimal points involved, and it does not vary off these 4 numbers. A couple of points to remember in this is that this adjustment is totally mathematical. It's within the formula. Golf courses do not have to do anything. They do not have to type in weather conditions, course setup conditions, or anything. This is an adjustment that will take place within the algorithm of the formula itself, and it is conservative in nature. It's anticipated that 80 to 90% of the rounds that are played will not have a PCC adjustment. Again, there is no need to report course, setup, or weather conditions. The calculation is performed only 1 time per day. It considers acceptable scores submitted on a golf course, including all rated tees in both genders. This is not something that is different for men and women or based on the set of tees that are played. It's one adjustment across the board for everyone playing the golf course that day. It requires at least 8 acceptable scores submitted by players with a handicap index of 36.0 or below. You will probably remember a little earlier in this presentation, the new maximum index is 54.0. But for the playing conditions calculation, at least 8 acceptable scores need to be submitted by players with an index of 36.0 or below. Again, combination of men and or women, and it doesn't make any difference from which set of tees are being played where these acceptable scores are posted from. It is applied in the calculation of score differentials for all players. And if you can remember back to the previous section when we were talking about the calculation of the handicap index formula, the adjustment for PCC is part of the formula itself. And this includes both 9-hole and 18-hole acceptable scores. The important aspect from the takeaway here, again, is that the club does not have to do anything reporting course, setup, or weather conditions. And regardless of when the score is posted, the PCC will impact the score differential. In other words, if I played today but did not post my score until tomorrow, when I backdate it to today, if there was a PCC adjustment, it will reflect in my differential for that day. Exceptional score reduction. ESR is a procedure for dealing with all exceptional scores, which may indicate the player's true ability. All scores are considered rather than only tournament scores. Under the USGA system in 2019 and prior, the club was responsible for determining what a tournament round would be. They would post the scores as T-scores, and those would be weighted differently. Under the new system, there are no longer tournament scores. Any score that is shot that meets the definition of exceptional will have an impact on the individual's index. How does it work? So the score differential is calculated. Once it is, the playing condition calculation is applied when appropriate. If that score differential is 7 strokes or better than the handicap index from when the round was played, the ESR adjustment is a -1. You can see it in the chart here. If it is 10 shots or more better, there is an ESR adjustment of -2. And this is in addition to any reduction caused by the score being used in the updated 8 of 20 calculations. Here's a chart that we'll walk through that shows how the ESR affects the differential. In his first example, on May 22nd, the player posted an exceptional score, which resulted in a -1 adjustment to the previous 20 differentials. And that is a key, that the adjustment will filter back down through the previous 20 differentials. So here you can see that the 17th score has a -1 to the right of it, along with a second -1, which we'll talk about shortly. But as you go back down, April 29th, April 14th, all the way down to what is the 25th score here, you see a -1 adjustment. On September 5th, the player posted a second exceptional score, which resulted in a -1 adjustment to their previous 20 differentials. Now you will see that the player can actually get an adjustment twice, which are the gold scores. Scores 17 through 20 here have a -1 adjustment because of the 2 exceptional scores that were shot. The first one on May 22nd and the second one on September 5th. Scores made after the exceptional score will not have a -1 adjustment, which allows the ESR to take care of itself. So here you see, after the September 5th ESR score, the individual went out and played 2 more rounds, neither of which was exceptional, so there is no ESR adjustment. So summarize this, the ESR replaces the T-scores. It is a -1 adjustment to the previous 20 differentials, or a -2 adjustment based on how far the differential of the adjustment was, whether it's -7 or -10, and it can be applied more than once to the same score as this chart indicates. Here you see the adjusted differential, and if you look at the 20th score on April 10th, the 21.2 had a -1 adjustment, so it became a -2 adjustment. And you can look at the chart to see how the math lines up with the adjustments. Low handicap index. The world system retains a memory of your lowest handicap index. In this example, this individual is starting with a low index of 25.8 as of April 3rd of 2020. The LHI represents the demonstrated ability of a player over a 12-month period preceding the most recent score in the player's scoring record. This provides a reference point against which the current handicap index can be compared. On May 30th of 2020, the golfer submitted a score which produced a handicap index of 24.9. This is their new low handicap index, 24.9. So this is a dynamic number that will change. It will have a duration of 12 months, but it can change at any point in time if a new index is calculated within that 12-month period. The importance of having the low index, it is the anchor point of which it will limit the upward movement of a handicap index. Now, as in the past, there is no limit on the amount by which a player's handicap index can decrease. Now, there is a limit on how far an index can go up. And this is something new. This is where the soft cap and the hard cap come in. The soft cap and the hard cap will be implemented to limit the extreme upward movement of the player's handicap index within a 12-month period. The soft cap suppresses the upward movement by 50% after a 3.0 stroke increase over the low handicap index has been reached. The hard cap restricts the upward movement to 5.0 strokes over the low handicap index. The soft cap and hard cap procedures only start to take effect once a player has at least 20 acceptable scores in their record. And that's important to remember. If I only have 18 scores in my record, the cap procedure does not start. Once I have 20, then the cap kicks in. As with the playing conditions calculation, this is an automated process. The club has nothing to do to determine that it should start here, it should end there, this happened, that happened. It is all part of the algorithm of the formula. The best way to use an example of this is that if we get into an elevator at ground floor and we start to go up, when we hit the third floor, the speed of the elevator will be cut in half. When we get to the fifth floor, that's where it stops. Even if we thought we were going to the seventh floor, it won't go there. When you hit the 5.0, that's where it stops. And it's based off of the low index as the base point. A soft cap example. Player A has a low handicap index of 10.0. Their current 8 of 20 average is 15.2. You subtract the low handicap index from the current 8 of 20, leaves you with 5.2. We determine how much greater than 3.0 the result is, which is 2.2. You subtract 50% of the resulting value from the 8 of 20 average, leaves us 1.1. So the handicap index is actually suppressed from 15.2 down to 14.1. It didn't cap it, it just slowed how quickly it can go up. The hard cap. Same player, low index of 10.0. Now their current 8 of 20 average is 17.4. You subtract the low index from the current average, leaves us 7.4. Determine how much greater than 3.0 the result is. So it's 4.4. Subtract 50% of the resulting value. It leaves us at 2.2. So the index would be 15.2. However, that's 5.2 shots above the low index, so the hard cap kicks in and stops this index at 15.0. Daily revisions in a time frame for submitting a score. The handicap index is updated daily. Players need to submit their scores as soon as possible after the round is completed and before midnight local time. That is the cutoff. So for us in Chicago, Central Time is what the vast majority of our golfers are on. By midnight Central Time, the score needs to be posted. We will encourage golfers to post immediately after the round and definitely post the day they play. This is to ensure that the score will be used for the playing conditions calculation that will be done overnight, as well as updating the index for the next day.